Make sure to enter my 3K giveaway if you haven't done it yet. All the details are below, and I would love to have you enter. This giveaway ends on October 31st, so you have a week. Make sure you enter. I'd love to see you there. Hi everyone, I'm Nikki and I'm back again on the channel today with a fun Altenew card. We are going to look at pattern paper and I'm going to start simple. So this is kind of a basic tutorial to get your pattern paper out and use it. So I'm going to use this Dotty patterned paper from Altenew. It's black and white. I'm going to use a stencil that's very similar. It's not made to go with it, but it's just similar that I found in my stash, and some bright orange colors on our flowers. Make sure if you haven't done it yet that you hit the like and the subscribe button. Today I'm taking you through a simple process that helps me when I'm getting really stuck with pattern paper. Now granted, I know that you have lots of pattern papers with lots of colors out there, but let's just start with black and white. Black and white is easy to coordinate and it really gives you a lot of options. I chose this Gardenia stamp set because it is a very good size flower and I wanted to be able to just use one flower on my card. I'm going to use some Altenew obsidian ink, and so I'm going to stamp outlines of the flowers, but I'm not going to do outlines of the leaves. And we're of course going to do a little bit of layered stamping, and then we're going to fill in these colors with a fun process you may not have tried yet. For my leaves, I'm not going to use the outline stamp. I'm going to use the background stamp, and I'm going to use lime and fresh leaf. And these are just two green colors. And then when I decide, so the leaves in this stamp set have veining, but they do not have an outline. So the veining part is going to be an even darker green. So I think it is very fun when you're adding to your projects to use different shades of the same color for your flower and greenery. And I know I outlined my flower with black, but I'm wanting those extra details on the flower, but not so much on the leaves. I feel like it just makes the leaves blend really well and it looks cool. I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to skip ahead to adding my second layer. So this is the second layer of the greenery, and I'm doing it in that darker green, which is called fresh leaf. I think that color is hard to find these days, so you could use something else, just a little darker green. And I'm going to do that on all three of these, and then I'm going to add the veining with an even darker green. So lining up these pieces, always look, so I'm having to look from above with the camera, but when I'm off camera, I line these pieces up by looking from the sides. I look over the top. I just want to make sure where I'm going to stamp is staying on the green. I feel like that second layer, it's pretty easy to do, but definitely requires getting my head in the way sometimes to see how it looks. So I just cut that part out for you, but I just want you to know that I am lining these up and I'm really looking from the side, making sure that I've got them lined up. And you know, you can be a little bit off and it doesn't show up, but if you're too much off, you're going to notice that that doesn't fit in the exact right place. And now here's the difference. So the top left leaf has the obsidian black as the veining. This is evergreen. And you see how it just has that softer look? I really liked it that way, so I ended up using the evergreen on my other one. So I know you already saw these colors when I was doing leaves because I kind of did things out of order here, but this is the background for the gardenia. So I've already done the outline stamp. I like to do the outline stamp and then the background. Some people like to stamp the background and then line the outline stamp up with it. It can be either way you want to. This top one is going to be my brighter flower. So I'm going to start with orange cream, and it's going to look super bright until this ink dies down a little bit. So when Altenew ink dries, it tends to get just slightly lighter, but I'm going for bold looks. We're using black and white, so I want a really bold look, but I'm gonna stamp one lighter flower to show you the difference. So all of these oranges are in the same color family. If you know how Altenew works, they have sets of 4, and they'll have, you know, light to dark in that 4. So we're going to be using the warm and cozy set, and we're going to use Sun-Kissed, which is the lightest, orange cream, and autumn blaze. And so our bottom flower is going to be the light one. It's going to have Sun-Kissed as its first color. Its second color will be orange cream. And then up at the top, I've already stamped in orange cream, and I'm going to add its second layer with autumn blaze. So I will pop all that stuff up for you in the side. So I'm going to add the last layer down here on our lighter color flower, and I'm going to use the orange cream on this. And then once that's done, we're going to let this sit aside for a little bit and dry, and we're going to coordinate our background with those polka dots. Okay, so here's how that looks. We got our dark flower and our light flower, and I'll add some more details to that later, but let's get our background together while we're allowing that time to dry. If you have never used a stencil to emboss, I'm going to go over the process with my Spellbinders Platinum 6. So you can do this with any type of embossing machine, but it's just a great way. Like if you don't want to, I didn't want a stencil in black to add to my design. I wanted it to be more subtle. So I'm using a white piece of paper and I'm making sure I line my dots up, because if you put this a little off center, then it's going to stencil that way and you'll have your design won't be exactly the way you wanted it to. So a lot of times I will tape my stencil down. You could also tape the back of the page. I'm using this embossing mat, and then I'm taking just a scrap piece of paper because I like my embossing to be a little deeper. And then I'm using the embossing plate from Spellbinders. I'm going to run that through and let me show you how amazing this is. It's so easy to do this, and you can do it with any stencil. And the reason I chose the polka dots is because it was similar to the pattern paper that I was going to use. So if you were using a flowery pattern paper and you had a flowery stencil, why not emboss with the stencil, and then you can add your pattern paper on there. So it's just a great way to stretch your supplies, and stencils are very inexpensive. This piece we could go any way we want to. With this really large flower, I'm probably going to do this as a horizontal card, and you always have that option. You can turn your cards different ways, and with this very large floral stamp set, to me it just makes more sense to use it that way. I'm going to die cut all these pieces, and then we're going to look at our layout options and how we could use that patterned paper. And you see, especially with putting leaves on this, this is a very big flower. So I'm looking for what I'm going to use as a sentiment, and I found this hello die. I think I'm going to use this so I can put it in this upper third here, and it just fits really well. It's the All About You word die set. If you don't own any word die sets, this one I use all the time. It's got a lot of good things on it. Really helpful, just FYI. So with this, this is the paper that got me inspired to make a really bright card, and I chose the orange today because one, I don't use orange a ton, and two, well, let's go with three. Two, it's fall. It seems like a great color, and I just thought it would make a very fall looking card. And three, if you know me, you know that I live in Knoxville, Tennessee, which is where the University of Tennessee is, and we just had a huge game where we beat Alabama. So everybody around here is orange, so I am just supporting my hometown team and adding a little fall spice to my card. So you have endless options on how you're going to use this, but this paper to me kind of reminds me of washi tape strips, and so I cut it into strips, and I want to make sure you can see that beautiful embossed background. So I'm going to put strips along the edges, and that is going to be how this card is set up. I'm going to go ahead and glue these strips down, and you see the back of this paper is such a cute pattern too. Oh my goodness, I've got to use more pattern paper. So I'm going to use a level. This is one of the Misty T rulers, and I use this one to measure how far I'm going away from the bottom, but also to keep my paper level. If you don't have one of these, it's really helpful for that. You could also use your grid mat and just make sure you're staying level with the grids, but I like putting that T ruler there. It really helps. And then once I've got this one glued down, I'm going to add my next one. You see how good that pattern looks? Oh, just looks so cute. These look like they were made to go with each other, and they were not. So look through your pattern paper, see what kind of stencils you have that match pattern paper, and I would love to see some of your cards if you do this project. Now I'm just going to add another strip. This almost reminds me of wrapping a present, like just cool little ribbon strips here. So I'm going to add these, get those straight, and then we're going to work on adding some really cool details to our flower. Okay, so here's the flower that I'm going to use. It is the lighter flower. I'm going to use this Copic multiliner in black. And what I'm going to do is trace areas of my stamp to make it look more bold in certain areas. So with this particular stamp, you have a lot of areas where the lines aren't even connected completely, and that's just for that look of this stamp. But I want it to be more bold. You know, we're going black and white, we're going orange, we are going bold all out. So I am going to trace these lines, and I'm going to hold my flower so and make my lines darker where there would be shadows. So kind of think of where your light source is and then bring your bold lines and shadows in there. And you can do this forever and take tons of time doing it, or you can just add a little bit, but it really changes the look of your stamps and just gives you another way to stretch your supplies, which I am all about, because we know that we need to stretch and use what we've got. So why not try some different things? This is altering your stamps, making them more bold, and it really fits using that black and white paper. I'm going to speed this up a little because this definitely takes me a while. I think this clip was like 10 or 15 minutes long. You can add as much as you want. You know, if you want it to be super bold, keep adding to those lines. You can do all kinds of things with altering your stamps. And for some reason, I really didn't ever think of doing this until I took a class from Altenew. And I thought that really does make a difference. I believe it was JC Gasper. Shout out to him. He's a great teacher. And I have been playing with altering my stamps ever since. So we're making this very, very bold, and I'm going to show you, I have a video clip of the flower before we started, and then I'll have one of the finished project, and I'm going to put them in the same screen so you can see the difference. The lighting is a little bit different from my camera angle and probably just where the sun was when I was taking it, but it is the same flower. You may not believe that it is, but it's the same flower. So on the left we have before, and on the right we have after. Now I'm going to add my shadow, and I can kind of follow this flower. You could do this with colored pencils, you could do this with Copic markers, whatever you wanted to do, but I am using some polychromos, and this is just, I bought like a pack of all the colors, and this was the orange that worked the best. And what I'm doing is going in and adding shadows, and I'm also making it look like veining. So I keep this very streaky, and I know that's hard to tell what I'm doing here with how I have to hold my hand to do the coloring, but I'm going to fast forward this, and I think you're going to see this flower change over time. I will try to show you a before and after of it as well. Okay, I'm going to speed this up, and I'm going to add a little music here so that you can see the coloring process. And I know it's not drastic, but you're going to be amazed when you see the final product versus this one. Okay, here's how they look. So you can see there was a lot of open space in the other one. Now we've got those nice veining lines, just really cool. I love using it this way. Okay, does anyone else do this? I get out all the things I think could look good on this card, and I set them out and I start playing with them. So even with the sequins, I put them out and just see what looks best to my eye. So I've gotten lots of different options out here. I'll show you what I end up deciding. Just FYI, my hello was made with a really glossy black paper from Erin Lee Creative, and then I used the shadow in vellum. Tip for vellum: it is hard to use liquid glue with vellum. It can be done, but it's difficult and you can make a mess. So I'm just going to use a little bit of a tape runner. Should I have put this through and actually had some kind of double-sided adhesive already on it before I cut it out? Yeah, that would have made sense. But if you're like me and sometimes you don't always think it through, this actually works pretty well. Here is what that Erin Lee glossy black paper looks like. Really dark, nice and glossy. Glossy enough you can see my face in the reflection here. So I'm going to cut this out and use it as the backer on my card, and I've also used it to cut out the hello. So I just liked having that dark outline. You could use another piece of pattern paper from the pack that I used. That would be perfectly fine. I just made, you might want to make your front piece a little bit smaller so you could see some of the pattern, and I had already placed other pieces on it and wanted it this size, so I stuck with that. So I decided that I'm going to use the metallic gold thread. We're going to glue on some leaves and pop up our flower. And then after I add that metallic gold thread, I'm actually going to add some antique gold sequins. They're very similar to the lighter color gold of the metallic thread for Altenew, so they look really good with it. Okay, I use this metallic thread a lot. I just feel like it gives you that texture to your card and just that extra little excitement. So the way that I do it is that I tend to just kind of lay it out on the card. It kind of wants to curl around itself like that. So I just want to make sure I've got the general area large enough before I stick down my flower. And I also, my flower's on foam tape, but I'm gonna add some glue to the back of that foam tape so I have a little bit more movement. And then once I've stuck it down, I'm gonna use my tweezers to pull in different areas if I want more of the product visible. And if there's an edge, you know, like if there's an end sticking out, I usually just take my scissors in and snip it off. Once you've got it where you want, you just press that flower down so that it'll stay where it's supposed to, and then you can move on to sequins. And I've got these antique gold sequins. You can see they match really well. I always play with sequins on my card and just kind of lay them out what seems the best. If I want to put them on the flower, around the flower, you can do whatever you want to. So that really is all for this video. I've got these glued down, and I'm going to back this whole card with that black that I told you about from Erin Lee Creative. I will link everything in the description that I used in this video, so if you are going shopping today, it would help me out a ton if you would click through those links. This is part of a blog hop for the Altenew educators, so make sure you check out the blog post that goes with this. I'll put the link in there, and don't forget about the giveaway. We have a giveaway for 3K. I'm giving away a full box of stamps and dies, all kinds of things. Just think of me as cleaning out my crafty space and sending you all kinds of gently used to new things. I have so many things that are still in their packages that I've put in this box, so I think you're going to really enjoy it. So make sure you follow the directions below on how to enter that giveaway. You have to let me know that you're entering so that I can keep up with it. So I hope that everybody's enjoyed this video. I'm so happy to have had you here. I hope you love this card, and I hope you'll try some of these techniques and get some of that pattern paper and some of your stencils out. Let's alter some stamps. We got all kinds of fun things we could do from this video. So have a great day, guys. I hope to see you on the channel again soon. If you hadn't done it, hit the subscribe button. Bye.